All right, greetings everyone. Today I want to talk about conspiracies and vaccinations. Conspiracies and vaccinations. All right, this is a rerun of what I did, in fact, the other day, but I recorded just the audio, no video, and there was this buzzing sound of the background, and I had trouble uploading on YouTube, so I decided to have a little rerun. Hopefully this is going to be a shorter, condensed version of the first try. I'm almost certain I'm going to get some feedback and maybe some pushback on this topic because I want to touch on the subject of vaccines, vaccinations, and that's almost a taboo among Christians, greatest dread currently. But I want to talk about two parts to this issue, and the first one is more generic: conspiracies or conspiracy theories, conspiracy explanations, conspirological views, and just explanations about everything that's taking place in this fallen and crazy world, which is insane on steroids right now. As you watch the news, I mean, everything that's happening, be it Afghanistan and just other events, it's just everything seems just plain insane. Okay, so but I took one passage of scripture which I think addresses the whole problem of conspiracy theories and the main problem with all conspirological explanations of everything that is taken. Well, first of all, what is conspiracy? Conspiracy is a plot, as a plan against something. It is a confederacy, an agreement of a group of people, sometimes a large group of people. It could be peoples and governments and so forth, united usually against something with some evil intent. So when we talk about conspiracy explanations, it's usually what we have in mind is a group of people, sometimes very powerful people, who are united with a very evil purpose in view, to inflict some sort of, pestilence upon people. So the explanation of the origins of COVID-19, that it was artificially created and designed and so forth. Well, let me read to you from the Word of God on the conspiracies in general, okay? In Isaiah 8, in fact, there's this word, conspiracy, at least in the original and several little translations. I'm going to be reading to you from Isaiah 8, verses 11, 12, and 13, okay? And in verse 12, we have the word conspiracy, okay? This is Green's literal translation. So God says, for so God, well, let me read to you from starting from verse 10. Counsel a counsel, and it is frustrated. Speak a word, and it shall not rise, for God is with us. For so Jehovah, Lord, spoke to me with a strong hand, and taught me against walking in the way of this people, saying, do not say a conspiracy, what to everything of which this people says a conspiracy. And do not fear its fear, and do not dread. Sanctify Jehovah of hosts himself, and let him be your fear, and let him be your dread. So what is the message here? Well, the people of old, in Israel, in the original context, they were afraid of many things. And the Bible frequently reminds God's people that the fear of man is a snare. The fear of man is a snare, because when people focus more on men, even on powerful men and kings and powerful nations, they begin to dread them and to fear them more than they fear God, and therefore it is a form of idolatry. It is. And all conspiracies tend to ascribe greater power and might and intellectual acumen to humans, to fallen humans, than they actually possess. Because the conspirological explanations always present to us a picture, a very fearful picture of what's taking place. That somebody united with somebody else, and they have plotted all this mess that we're currently living through, And it has been all mapped out. And it's just not by accident. It's all a result of very careful, evil planning ahead. So what we're having right now, this COVID-19 pestilence, well, it's all been designed. And the vaccinations, it's another thing just to kill as many people as possible. So all world's governments are united with this wicked purpose to just kill as many of their subjects and citizens as they can. And this is just the conspiracies. So plotting against. Well, here the Lord says to Isaiah, do not say conspiracy to everything of which this people says a conspiracy. And do not fear its fear, and do not dread. Let Jehovah, or says, sanctify Jehovah of hosts himself, and let him be a fear, and let him be a dread. So God is not saying that, look, that there's no plot, that people do not counsel, do not get together. They do. They do against rise up. They do counsel. They do invent wicked devices and so forth. But they're not as powerful, successful, or well thought out as they may appear in conspiracy theories. See, all conspiracy theories ascribe again greater power and ability to fallen human beings. They all presuppose a level of harmony and coherence and consistency in fulfilling that, whatever that plan is, to kill as many people, to dominate and so forth, then the fallen human beings actually possess. Okay? So, well, take for instance this COVID-19 thing. Okay? It is a bad bug. It is a bad infection. It is viral. It's very contagious. And even though there's still some people who are living in denial, I mean, it is actually killing people. And it is much more dangerous than the seasonal flu. I mean, only a fool will still insist that, well, it's just about on the same level as the seasonal flu. No, it's not. It is much more dangerous, much more deadly, and so forth. It's just a bit, again, some people, if they want to continue living with their head shoved in the sand, I mean, let them be so. But otherwise, I'm talking almost everybody knows somebody who has lost their relative, or their father or mother or grandfather or their co-worker or somebody. It is a pretty dangerous bug, or a pretty bad bug. All right, now it's all over the place. It is literally a pandemic. Okay, now people say, well, the vaccinations are even worse than the COVID. They're going to kill as many people because that's their design. I mean, to poison your body, and there'll be some wicked, very dangerous and lethal effects upon your body in the years ahead. Let's look at you. By the way, I've been jabbed 2 times by Sputnik V. All right, I took the inoculations, and very consciously so. That you'll say, well, you're Russian. Russians are crazy anyway, not to be trusted, and that's fine. But let me at least try to explain why I think. First of all, we haven't dealt sufficiently with the conspiracies, the conspiracy explanations. They're always attractive to us because they really shift our focus from God, who is actually orchestrating and governing and ruling in the nations, to his holy end. And we're focusing our attention upon a selected group of people. And we endow them mentally. I mean, we ascribe to them far greater ability to do harm than they actually than they're able to perform. Okay? For instance, you have those Freemasons, all right? A few years ago, and Masons have been a while, and I've heard explanations that all presidents of the world, they all get together, they're all members of the secret society of Freemasons. So all evil that we have in the world today is the result of this careful and wicked plotting by Mason presidents. So Clintons are Masons and everybody else is, and then you have Jesuits. So the Roman Catholic Church, in the mind of many evangelicals and otherwise Christian people, they trace all evil back to the Jesuits. Oh, it's because the Jesuits. It's in the States. You have so many Jesuits in power. It is the Jesuits. It is the Roman Church and so forth. Well, guess what? Jesuits are wicked, and they do have plots and so forth, and they are power thirsty, just as every other corrupt religious group or religious order. I mean, you take any other religious society, okay? They have, of course, their own ends and so forth, but they're not successful. All right, counsel to counsel, says Jehovah, and it is frustrated. The Lord thwarts, he frustrates the counsels of the wicked. Yes, for a while it may appear that the evil is actually prevailing, but it's not, okay? And in order to explain that what we're seeing with our own eyes, that is all, the world is in a mess, and it is going down the tube as it is right now. In so many respects, it is going down very rapidly. The situation overall is worsening. And so many fronts, and we can sort of observe it, but we can't see everything. We don't see the big picture. That is all being moved to an appointed end. And God is the victor, and Christ is the victor, okay? He has already held the most magnificent and significant victory in the entire universe, in the history of the mankind. So everything is moving to its appointed end, all right? So the catastrophes that we're observing, the wars and rumors of wars, all of these things must needs be, but the end is not yet, okay? And if Biden, flops and completely, fails, so what appears to us this great failure in ending this military campaign and nation building and all that, which has been a major drain on the U.S. budget. I mean, I'm talking about Afghanistan and how they're all pulling out. That we were seeing that the casualties and everything that's been just really messed up. It's not a plan. It's just people are incompetent, stupid, and otherwise sinful. Yes, men and women are sinful and corrupt. Okay. But that's that. Conspiracy theories tend to single out certain groups and ascribe to them greater powers than they do actually possess. And they also sort of personify evil in the face of those groups and make them almost as gods. But see, this is a practical denial of total depravity, or original sin, or radical corruption of the human heart, sinfulness, however you call it. The noetic results of sin, that we are just sinful, okay, and corrupt, and selfish, and incompetent, and all those things in between. So it doesn't take a careful plan to ruin an economy or to butch up a military operation. All it takes just a bunch of sinful human beings. People forget things. People just are short-sighted. They come up with stupid solutions, but it doesn't have to be a part of a self-conscious effort to do evil. We do have the evil one, Satan, and his main purpose is to thwart God's purposes in gathering his church and achieving his purposes. He is trying to stand in the way, but it doesn't mean that all of the presidents and Jesuits, that they're so effective in achieving Satan's purposes. They're just sinful human beings, and oftentimes they don't really know what they're doing, okay? So, and the reason why God repeatedly says, he says, don't say a conspiracy here in Isaiah 8:12. Do not say a conspiracy to everything of which this people says a conspiracy. And do not fear its fear, and do not dread. Well, here's the message. when you come up with a conspirological explanation of whatever's taking place, you've already deified somebody, you've elevated them, you've ascribed greater powers to them that they actually possess, and they made them into a god, and you fear them, you tend to fear. When you watch a conspirological explanation of 9/11 or whatever it is, or the flat earth and so forth, then you begin to fear the world's governments more than they should be feared. We're not to fear them in the ultimate sense at all. We're to honor kings and the powers that be and so forth, and pay homage as far as our obedience to God. Yes, we're to honor them because they've been placed by God, but no, not a molecule more than that, because they're just human beings, sinners as ourselves. So conspiracies fail. People do plot things, but they're not as effective in carrying those out. And all the evil that is in the world, well, yes, it is because of sin, but not because somebody has mapped out this grandiose, plan for next 100 years. Okay, so do not call the conspiracy that this people calls a conspiracy. Okay, they will not stand. God is still ruling in the midst of man. Now, as far as vaccinations themselves, why I got jabbed and why I think that this whole paranoia about vaccination is stupid, and it's also a conspirological explanation. The vaccinations is the whole area of. I'm no expert. I don't pretend to be, and that's precisely the reason why I trust the professionals. I don't trust them wholeheartedly because they're still fallen human beings, fallen men and women, and they do make mistakes. And medicine, just as every other area of science, they sort of grope in the dark. By trial and error, they find some solutions. They seem to work. Vaccinations historically have worked against many otherwise very dangerous, contagious diseases, and some of them are viral. Okay, not only bacterial, antibacterial vaccines, but also antiviral, like polio in Japan. And it was a vaccine that was created in the Soviet Union in the 50s, which helped basically offset and battle this otherwise very dangerous disease, polio, which basically incapacitates and makes people with less able, with the deficient ability to move about and so forth, and it's a bad illness. So vaccinations have worked historically, and this is the area where, at least on my part, I can say I trust God's providence, and I know that He has set professionals in certain places, and if you have a bad toothache or some other ailment, you go to a doctor. We buy aspirin, we buy painkillers, whatever else. We trust that there's some sufficient discoveries that have been made. So we do trust the progress. Now, what is the scriptural foundation for our reasonable, not wholesale, not blind, but reasonable trust in the so-called progress and what we have today and all of those things that are afforded by the technological progress today? What is the scriptural basis for that? Well, I believe it is found in the very first chapter of the book of Genesis. When God created man, He created them, man and woman, He created them in His own likeness, in His image, after His own likeness. And He said also, rule over the fish of the sea, the fowl of the air, and the beasts of the field, and everything, the creation. So man was made as the pinnacle of the creation in the image of God, and He gave this commandment to rule over, to subdue, to tame the creation. And humankind has been in this business of taming and subduing the rest of the creation and making the elements of this creation useful for His purposes. the invention of so many things that we have, the cell phones, the internet, and the computers and everything else, and different fabrics that we have, we wear as clothes and so forth. Just all of this, it's been the ruling over the rest of the creation. And it is the power that God has endowed man with to subdue the earth, to make it serve man. Okay? And we would do that not perfectly, because we see the sin entering the picture in Genesis 3, and because that messed things up. So the earth produces thorns and thistles, and cursed is the earth because of thee. And so we do have the repercussions and the curses because of the fall. Nevertheless, with all of the drawbacks and messes that we cause, and there's this pushback by the material creation against man, we see this sort of a conflict. Nevertheless, man is still ruling over the rest of the creation, is still subduing, still keeping in subjection the rest of the creation. And vaccinations is part of that process, okay? That allows man to sort of rule over not only the fish of the sea, but also over the bugs, viruses, and bacteria. Okay, that's how I understand it. We don't trust them completely. Doctors still mess things up, and they're frequently wrong. But the vaccinations, historically, they have worked. We had some run time to see the results. They do seem to work. Okay, they're not perfect. They're not bulletproof. The vaccinations will not make you 100% immune to COVID-19. People still contract the bug. What they are efficient in, what is the advantageous sides of vaccinations, is that they appear, at least what we're seeing in statistics worldwide, they greatly decrease the level of mortality in severe cases. They reduce the severe cases of COVID-19. So if you've been jabbed, there's a higher percentage, so a lesser chance that you're going to get in the severe situation, and less probability that you're going to end up dead. So that's the good thing about vaccines. They reduce that, and they help to create this herd immunity in the nation. So I think it's a positive thing, even though, yes, there may be side effects. Well, guess what? The COVID-19 already has bad side effects, some of which are still unknown. And it's going to take some years down the road to sort of, digest the information. This is my 2 cents on the conspiracies and vaccinations. Hopefully I'll end with this and on to more immediately scriptural subjects, which we would like to be focusing on. Again, conspiracies, they shift your eyes from the one who's actually orchestrating all events, and we tend to focus more on the earthly kings. That's the bad thing about conspirological explanations. All right, well, be well. May God bless you all. See you.